Our top story this morning. Violence and protests have escalated in Sudan. At least 15 people were killed in the capital after Sudanese forces opened fire at the protesters. This marks the bloodiest day of protests since the military takeover on the 25th of October. Security forces fired live rounds and tear gas at the anti-coup protesters. Their latest deaths reportedly take the overall death toll from the unrest to 39. Hundreds more have been wounded. Journalists in the country reported that people took to the streets across the capital of Khartoum despite telephone lines and internet services being disrupted.
طبعا الليله نصره للثوره ولإعادة المدنيه لان هذا انقلاب كامل الدسم والان بدا قطع النت والاتصالات.
This escalation in violence comes as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Africa. The aim is to boost efforts to resolve the deepening conflicts in not only Sudan but also Ethiopia. So far, U.S. diplomatic efforts have remained unsuccessful. Hundreds of activists and journalists have been arrested in a bid to stop the protests. The SPA, which is an umbrella of unions that was instrumental in overthrowing the former military dictator Omar al-Bashir, called the crackdown crimes against humanity. Sudan's top General Burhan, responsible for the military takeover, has continued to insist that it was not a coup and promises that general elections will be held in 2023. Now, despite international condemnation, Burhan also last week announced a new sovereign council, the highest transitional authority in the country. He named himself as the chief, and all 9 military members retained their seats. In the meantime, the majority of civilian leaders remain detained, with Prime Minister Hamdok currently under house arrest. And our correspondent Patrick Oyer joined us live from Juba on the same. Let's just listen in.
Things are now, it can only get worse for the military because the protest is not only in Khartoum, the protest is also in other parts of Sudan where people are demanding the same thing, that is a return to civilian rule. People are saying they have been under the military, they have tested leadership under the military, they are not happy. They thought when they overthrew former President Omar al-Bashir, they would return to a full civilian government where democracy would be promoted. Financial assistance was already coming from the international community, but now all that is being cut off. So it is only getting worse for Sudan, and it's getting very, very difficult for the military also to try and govern, because protests are all over the country. The businesses are not going on. The oil, which is one of the major exports of Sudan, is now not going to the international market because in the eastern Sudan, people are protesting, the port has been blocked. So a lot of problems for the military. And remember that also there are armed groups who signed a peace agreement with the government, but those armed groups have not yet been integrated into the national army. They are still operating in the regions where they have been operating for years. They are likely to go back to start also confronting the military militarily. So there are a lot of problems for Sudan. The sooner the military leadership listens to the voices of the protesters and resolve the problem, the better for the Sudan. If that is not done soon, the situation is only deteriorating.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.